Okay, let's unpack this. I want you to imagine a scenario for a second.
Oh, I love these.
Right. So you are in a high school, and you are, without a doubt, the most invisible, socially anxious person in the entire room.
Basically a ghost.
Exactly, a total ghost. You have zero social media presence. You just want to fade completely into the background. And you are absolutely dreading this upcoming group project because, well, it means you actually have to interact with people.
The absolute nightmare for any introvert.
Oh, 100%. But then, out of absolutely nowhere, you were suddenly adopted by the four most popular, impossibly handsome guys in school.
I mean, it is essentially the ultimate Cinderella story.
Yeah.
But, populated entirely by teenage boys who are just trying to navigate the absolute minefield that is high school social dynamics.
Yeah, it's like going from being this ghost haunting the hallways to suddenly riding shotgun in the royal carriage.
That is a great way to put it.
And that incredibly potent fantasy is the exact premise of the 2025 Japanese boys' love series we are doing a deep dive into today. It's called School Trip. Joined a group I'm not close to.
Right, which is a live-action adaptation of Kakaregi Uzura's novel.
Yep. And our mission for this deep dive is to figure out exactly why this 10-episode series became an absolute, just massive hit. Late last year, we've got plot breakdowns, critical reviews, and some fiercely debated fan reactions to sift through.
And for you listening, whether you're, prepping for a major presentation or just trying to unwind on your commute, this show is a phenomenal case study.
It really is.
It aired from October to December of 2025, and it streams on Gagalala. And it represents this massive pop culture shift toward what the industry is calling healing media.
Healing media, I love that term.
Right. It's a genre that completely sidesteps heavy angst or those traumatic plot twists and toxic villains. It replaces all of that with a much softer, more empathetic narrative framework.
And to understand why audiences found this show so healing, you really have to look at how it completely dismantles the typical high school hierarchy, like from minute one.
Oh, absolutely. They take that classic popular kids versus the loner setup and they just completely strip the venom out of it.
Yeah. Let's look at our loner, Hioki Asahi, played by Kodai Fujimoto. He's a shy, second-year student who gets separated from his one and only best friend, Tsujitani, for a school trip.
Which is devastating when you're that age.
Totally. And Hioki has absolutely zero confidence. Like we said earlier, he doesn't even have a social media account.
Right.
Which, I mean, in a modern high school setting, basically makes him a cryptid.
He is the definition of an outsider looking in, totally devoid of any social capital.
Exactly. And contrasting him, you have the four heavenly kings.
The elite of the elite.
The school's undisputed elite clique. You've got Hoda, played by Kairi Shimizu, who acts as the cheerful, charismatic buffer. He's actually the one who breaches the divide and invites Hioki to join their group.
The icebreaker.
Right. Then there's Nakasato, played by Ayuda Fukuda, the bubbly cutie who is always styled in a cozy cardigan.
And honestly, that styling is doing a lot of heavy lifting. It immediately signals approachability rather than, intimidation.
Definitely. Then we have Morisaki, played by Masaya Sakuragi. He's the mysterious, brooding guy who constantly wears headphones.
Seemingly to block out the overwhelming noise of his own popularity.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, the leader of the pack, Watarai Tsukasa. Now, normally when you put four elite, gorgeous guys together in Asian pop culture, you are looking at the classic F4 phenomenon.
Right, right.
If you think back to massive hits like Meteor Garden or Boys Over Flowers, that trope has a very specific flavor.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what's fascinating here is how that traditional F4 trope usually functions as a mechanism of oppression.
Yes.
In those older 90s and 2000s stories, the elite group is almost always stuck up, entitled, or outright cruel. The cool kids are essentially the villains that the underdog protagonist has to either endure, survive, or morally reform. It's a social hierarchy built entirely on cruelty and exclusion.
But in School Trip, there is zero toxic masculinity. None.
It's almost shocking.
It is. The kings are so genuinely wholesome and relentlessly supportive.
There's no posturing, there's no ego. They don't use their popularity as a weapon to diminish others.
It's like an Avengers team of aggressive wholesomeness. Which really makes me wonder, looking at the cultural context of late 2025, are modern audiences just completely exhausted by the mean girl or the school bully narratives?
Oh, I think so.
Right. Is this completely utopian, frictionless version of high school what viewers actually crave right now?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture again, we're living in a world completely saturated with heavy, relentless, real-world news.
Yeah, that's so true.
Viewers are actively seeking out this comfort BL as a psychological palate cleanser. They are intentionally choosing gentleness over shack value.
Just giving their brains a break.
Exactly. People simply don't want to come home from a stressful day and watch fictional characters suffer through toxic hierarchies. They want to experience a fantasy where the most powerful people in the room use that immense social power to make an outsider feel entirely safe and included.
And because the show establishes that incredibly safe, supportive environment with the friend group right off the bat, it gives the story the necessary oxygen to explore something much deeper.
It really opened things up.
It does, and lets us explore the psychological mechanics of why the most popular guy in school, Watarai, played by Hideyoshi Khan, is so intensely, undeniably drawn to the invisible loner.
Right, because Watarai is the undisputed main character of the campus. He is tall, conventionally attractive, and has this massive social media following that essentially treats him like a local idol. But psychologically, that level of popularity is suffocating. He feels completely trapped by this performative idol persona.
Totally.
Everyone is looking at him, projecting their fantasies onto him, but no one actually sees him as a flawed, normal teenage boy.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Watarai is drawn to Hioki precisely because Hioki doesn't care about the hype.
He's oblivious to it.
Exactly. Hioki is the first person to notice and genuinely admire Watarai's internal kindness rather than his high-spec external looks. It's like an A-list movie star falling for a barista who has never seen a single one of their blockbuster movies.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. The barista just likes that they tip well, say please, and remember to clear their table.
And Hioki's perceived weakness, his total lack of social media presence, and his invisible social standing is exactly what makes him a safe harbor for Watarai.
Because there's no pressure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hioki has no ulterior motives. He isn't trying to leech off Watarai's clout to climb the social ladder.
Wait, I'm stuck on something here, though.
Okay, what is it?
If Hioki's entire appeal is just that he treats Watarai like a normal guy, without the fanfare, is Watarai actually in love with Hioki the person?
Oh, wow.
Or is he just addicted to the feeling of being unperceived? Like, is he just using Hioki as a vacation from his own popularity?
That tension is exactly what drives their early dynamic. In psychology, there is a concept called complementary evolution.
Complementary evolution?
Yeah, it occurs when two people subconsciously seek each other out because their specific emotional deficits fit together like a lock and a key.
Oh, interesting.
Watarai's deep psychological deficit is his desperate need for sincerity and grounding. Hioki's deficit is his profound need to feel seen and worthy of being chosen by anyone at all.
So they fill each other's gaps.
Exactly. They aren't just dating. They are actively medicating each other's deepest insecurities. Watarai provides the validation Hioki craves, and Hioki provides the authentic reality Watarai is starved for.
That deep, almost desperate psychological need to be truly seen by another human being is exactly what makes their romance such an agonizingly slow burn. Oh, it takes forever.
It really does. They are both so trapped in their own heads, terrified of ruining this fragile dynamic, that they take forever to actually communicate. And because of that hesitation, the show has to rely on some very classic storytelling mechanics to physically force them together.
Like the school trip arc in the first 4 episodes.
Yes.
By physically extracting the characters from the standard classroom environment, the narrative shatters the established social barriers. They aren't operating in the rigid space where Watarai is the untouchable idol and Hioki is the nobody.
Right.
They are suddenly just teenagers trying to navigate an amusement park or a hotel itinerary.
And by using the only one bed trope in episode 3, which is caused by a very convenient hotel mix-up, of course, the show is essentially putting their psychological defenses in a pressure cooker.
Classic trope.
You literally can't escape it. When you remove the physical distance between two characters who are harboring secret feelings, the emotional distance has nowhere left to hide.
So true. We also get Watarai's carousel declaration during this trip, where he makes a very vague, fluttery admission of his feelings while literally riding a brightly lit merry-go-round.
It is very dramatic.
Very. The whole foundation of their early relationship relies on these silent acts of service. Watarai is constantly hovering, ensuring Hioki isn't left behind by the group.
But, while those emotional beats resonate deeply with the audience, some of the specific mechanics used to orchestrate those moments draw a lot of critical scrutiny for being highly illogical.
Honestly, looking at some of these scenes, it feels like fans are giving these highly illogical tropes a total free pass just because the production value looks like a high-end million-dollar idol music video.
It is a gorgeous show.
It is. I mean, there's an infamous scene where all 8 growing, ravenous teenage boys are sharing one tiny personal pan pizza.
Oh, the pizza scene.
Just politely passing around these microscopic, transparent slices of cheese. And then there's the contact lens scene.
Right.
Hioki loses a contact lens and suddenly acts borderline disabled, completely helpless and frozen, just so Watarai has a manufactured excuse to hover over him, invade his personal space, and be super protective.
The pizza scene is undeniably a moment where the suspension of disbelief is stretched until it snaps.
Totally snaps.
But we have to look at the functional mechanics of adapting a written medium into a visual one. In the original novel, Hioki's internal monologues do the heavy lifting.
Ah,
The reader is constantly privy to his anxiety, his overthinking, and his growing affection. When you strip away that internal monologue for a television show, directors have to replace those invisible thoughts with visual cues.
right, because we can't hear what he's thinking.
Exactly. They use lingering glances and manufacture slightly absurd scenarios like the contact lens emergency to externalize that internal longing. The tropes might be silly when viewed objectively, but they are purely functional mechanics. They allow the characters to express their intense yearning without breaking the low-stakes, comforting tone of the show.
Well, the beautiful, vibrant cinematography definitely acts as a buffer for those silly plot points.
It certainly helps.
But while that gentle slow burn was deeply comforting for a lot of people, that intense, lingering focus Watarai has on Hioki eventually morphs into something much heavier.
Yes, it really shifts gears.
Once the school trip ends in episode 5, they return to the normal classroom hierarchy. And Watarai's behavior shifts dramatically into what fans call his wolf dog persona.
This specific behavioral shift introduces a dynamic that fiercely divided the viewing audience.
It really did.
Watarai transitions from being an attentive, supportive friend to being intensely protective, deeply jealous, and highly physically clingy.
He essentially marks his territory, and this is where we see the fan base split right down the middle. Looking at the sources impartially, on one side, you have viewers who absolutely swooned over this jealous school prince vibe.
They ate it up.
They loved the intense devotion. They celebrated how boldly Watarai claims Hioki in very public spaces, like when he fully embraces him during a crowded school assembly.
Or his incredibly intense confession by the ocean in episode 7.
Yes. For these fans, it triggers the ultimate romantic fantasy of being desired so fiercely that the most popular guy in school doesn't care who is watching.
But conversely, a significant portion of the audience got major ick from this exact same behavior.
Oh, major ick.
Critics hated how Watarai blatantly invaded Hioki's personal space in episode 5. In episode 6, Watarai literally picks Hioki up and carries him away without asking for permission.
Just scoops him up.
Right. These viewers felt that Watarai was over-coddling him, stripping away his agency. One highly circulated review argued that Watarai was treating Hioki like a Pomeranian dog on a leash, rather than the human being and an equal partner.
Wow. Pomeranian dog on a leash.
Yeah. Possessiveness triggers very different psychological alarms depending on the viewer. For some, it signifies safety and desirability, but for others, it signals a terrifying loss of autonomy.
So what does this all mean? It reminds me of a rescue dog that finally finds a really good home and then immediately starts growling and baring its teeth if anyone else comes near their human.
That's a very apt comparison.
It's a fascinating, complex character trait for Watarai, showing just how utterly terrified he is of losing this one genuine connection. But does an obsessive dynamic like that actually make for a healthy relationship to model on screen?
What's fascinating here is that the live-action drama deliberately dialed up this possessiveness from the original novel.
Oh, really?
Yes. In the source material, Watarai is much more subdued. The showrunners intentionally amplified his jealousy to manufacture narrative friction.
Ah, for the drama.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By making Watarai so overbearing, they created a very specific obstacle that the characters had to overcome. They built a scenario where Watarai must learn a hard lesson. He cannot force a secure connection through sheer intensity alone. He has to learn to respect Hioki's boundaries.
And that deliberate narrative friction sets up the climax perfectly. The tension of Watarai's overbearing possessiveness, combined with Hioki's tendency to just passively accept whatever happens, reaches a boiling point during the school festival preparations.
It had to snap eventually.
It did. The series has to find a way to balance the scales for a satisfying finale, and they execute this in episode 10, the season finale, which is set at a Christmas Eve party.
This finale brilliantly subverts a very common trope in the genre.
How so?
Well, typically, the assertive, popular character is the one to make the final grand gesture to seal the relationship.
Oh, right, of course. But here, the writers flip the script. It is the timid, socially anxious Hioki who finally steps up.
It's amazing.
He gathers what the critical sources describe as his terrifying bravery, and he is the one to officially initiate the relationship. He looks Watarai in the eye and asks him to be his boyfriend.
It's incredibly powerful because it proves Hioki isn't just a passive object of affection. He has his own agency.
It's a massive moment of character growth that pays off the entire 10-episode buildup.
It really is.
It leads to their highly anticipated first kiss, and they share a beautiful full-circle moment where they declare that they can only see each other, echoing how Hioki was the only one to truly see Watarai at the beginning of the series.
And, the narrative doesn't just stop at the confession. We get these 2 epilogue specials titled the After Story episodes.
Oh, I love these.
The timeline jumps forward. They are now in their 3rd year of high school, and they've been placed in different classes.
Which, placing them in different classes introduces a very real, grounded obstacle for high school sweethearts. They no longer have the convenience of constant proximity.
Right, they have to work for it now.
Exactly. And in the first special, we get the typhoon incident. A massive storm is rolling in, the school is chaotic, and Watarai invites Hioki over to his place for some private time to weather the storm together.
It's very cozy.
So cozy. They spend the episode just existing in each other's space, featuring much more physical intimacy, lots of back hugs and casual affection. It really rewards the audience's patience after sitting through that massive slow burn.
A typhoon is a brilliant narrative choice here.
Really? Why is that?
Well, think about it. In the early episodes, the outside world was Watarai's domain, and it was loud, chaotic, and highly performative. By trapping them inside during a literal storm, the show visually represents how their relationship has become a quiet, grounded shelter from the chaos outside.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. The physical intimacy isn't just fan service, it's visual proof that Watarai no longer feels the need to perform.
You really see his emotional growth. He learns to trust their bond without acting out in jealous spirals just because they aren't in the same room all day. By having Hioki make that final move at Christmas, the show effectively cures Watarai's obsessive Pomeranian leash behavior. It finally makes them true equals.
And in the finale, Watarai literally asks Hioki to act as a check on his intense feelings. He acknowledges his own flaws out loud.
That is so rare for a teen drama.
It really is. It proves that they have evolved from a mismatched pair, the untouchable idol and the invisible kid, into a grounded, highly communicative partnership. And, crucially, they are supported by their friends. The other kings don't judge the relationship or create contrived drama. They celebrate them.
If we zoom all the way out, School Trip is ultimately a 4-hour emotional palate cleanser.
Yes.
It's a beautifully shot story about finding the people who don't demand you change your core self to fit their expectations. For you listening, whether you're about to walk into a massive meeting or you're just trying to decompress at the end of a long, exhausting week, this series proves that sometimes the best, most impactful stories are built on awkward silences, supportive friendships, and pure gentleness, rather than high-stakes trauma and drama.
It reminds us that there is profound strength in simply being kind to the people around you, and profound bravery in allowing yourself to be truly seen.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today as you go about your routine. Think about the media you consumed growing up. Did it teach you that romance had to be full of toxic drama, screaming matches, and mean girls to be interesting?
It's a great question.
Right. And as you navigate your own social circles today, are you performing a tightly controlled public image like Watarai, terrified of losing your status? Or are you brave enough to step out of the background, like our invisible kid, and actively seek out the people who see you for exactly who you are?
It's definitely a question worth asking yourself.
Thank you so much for taking this deep dive into the sources with us today. We'll catch you on the next one.
Until next time.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. It really helps the channel grow. See you in the next one.